Thank you very much, Julia. So now we will call Mr. Ahmed Mansoor to he will speak now. I hope yes he is there. With regards to legislation, we urge the yes he is there. Okay, he will.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. I'm listening.
Yeah. Mr. Ahmed, yeah, you can begin.
Thank you
It's
very
okay
much.
for you. Okay.
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me this chance to address the audience that unfortunately cannot be with physically. I think my colleagues did an excellent job giving you an idea about the laws and so many specific cases. I will focus on my word on the trend that happened in UAE and how did we reach what we are in today. I would be rather starting from the 2006 timeframe until 2008. I will sum all the types of freedom of expression related violations in UAE. I will be basically dividing it to everything almost in two categories. From 2006 until 2011, and then beyond 2011 until the date. But of course, there will be some breakdown in between to show you at least how things developed in UAE. So starting on the first phase between 2006 and 2008, I'll go over the major development that happened in relation to the freedom of expression in the country. The UAE authorities decided to close an online discussion forum and taken two of its writers to jail. One of the writers spent 55 days and the other one spent 2 weeks in jail based on defamation charges that were led and orchestrated by the head of the emirate in that emirate of Ras Al Khaimah. Of course, the site was permanently shut down after that. The total number of cases that were raised against the owner of the site were 6 at some point of time, but because of the international pressure and the outcry of the human rights organizations and also some of the governments at that time, the case was closed and the charges were dropped and the individual was freed accordingly. But the site remained closed permanently, because the individual, the owner of the site was too afraid to bring it back. In the same year of 2007, the case spanned 2006 and 2007. So in 2007, 2 journalists working in one of the English newspaper were sentenced to jail also on defamation charges, which invoked further criticism by the international human rights organizations. All these criticism led basically the UAE Prime Minister to intervene and come out with a decision that made jail to journalists to stop jailing. Basically, issued a decision, not even a decree, because he's not entitled to issue a decree on the federal level. So he came out with a decision not to jail journalists based on their writings, a move which was welcomed widely by the international community and the local community. We, however, have seen a great deterioration despite of that in freedom of expression, even after that decision. And in fact, the law in effect at the moment is the old draconian law that was issued in 1980. So that is the active law, which really allows journalists to be put in prison for their activities, despite the fact that there is a decision. However, they are not implementing, the imprisonment term of that law at the moment. Yet there are other ways of getting the individuals in jail, because they pass heavy financial fines on them, and if they cannot pay it, basically they go to jail because of that. And we also have seen at that time frame that media does not publish critical reports on UAE, especially on human rights issues, and also on other economic related matters. Of course, any other political subjects are also not published at all. Also, at the same time frame, we've seen the shutdown, or basically closing down 2 TV stations based on the request of the Pakistani authorities. We've seen many writers were not allowed to write in the newspaper prior to the 2006 timeframe, and continued afterward, and more new individuals were prevented really from writing in the newspaper. We've seen some sites were blocked, blogs were blocked, some other discussion forums were blocked. We've seen these are as some sort of growing trends, but not very excessive at that moment. We've seen the press, the local press, even not covering certain protests that happened inside UAE, naming as an example the teachers' protests that that really challenged the dismissal of work. So they were dismissed from their work and they went on protest, but none of the basically local press covered that, while the international news agencies covered it. Prevented the participation. The authorities prevented basically the participation of a play that was supposed to participate in Egypt or somewhere, because of the subject that it talks about, which is related to the demographic imbalance in the United Arab Emirates, and also prevented the media from using certain terms during the financial crisis, such as bailout, and not allowed reports on Dubai to be published. Also, local writers were disoriented, even those the pro-government writers, because they were afraid to write objectively or to challenge even the wrong information out of fear. This is because of the fear they could not really even defend their country against imbalanced and false information. During the 2000 time frame, the authorities attempted to issue a media law instead of the old draconian law, and they called it the Media Activities Law. That was supposed to abolish the imprisonment of journalists based on the earlier decision by the Prime Minister. The law was full of open-ended terminologies and could be applied arbitrarily. They put heavy fines that can go up to 5 million UAE dirham, and basically can put those individuals who cannot pay in jail. I myself, along with a few other individuals, led a petition in 2009 addressed to the president of the country, urging him not to issue the law. For some reason, our attempt was successful at that time, and the law was not issued, and actually is not issued until today, which was a great move for us and great success for us at that time. But now, of course, we think this law is very good law compared to what we've seen later on in cybercrime and terrorism law. I personally attended even the discussion of this, draft law in the parliament, or the Federal National Council, which is a consultative body. The telecom operator also in the same year pushed a spyware over the air on all the BlackBerry devices in an attempt to spy on all these devices. That was quickly discovered by the, the international community and was a big scandal. Many activists were dismissed from their work. Actually, one activist in specific was dismissed from his work due to his appearance in TV interview criticizing the lack of freedom of expression in the country. The court ordered one official newspaper to be shut down for 20 days. This is a government-based newspaper, an official newspaper that belongs to the Emirate of Dubai. Case against an online magazine by Abu Dhabi Media Company also was initiated, and the court ordered at later stage to close the site down and to fine its owner. We also launched the UAE Hiwar.net, which was the online discussion forum that led at some point of time, at least officially, led to put me in jail along with 4 other individuals. Part of the forum was blocked 3 months after the start of the forum. They also arrested and dismissed a few individuals that called for a peaceful rally in cars in a protest of rising the oil prices and BlackBerry. So they were messaging BlackBerry asking people to go and protest in their cars against the rise of the oil prices. Also, we've seen blocking of sites continue during the 2000 time frame, and this time also included some political sites. In 2010, we've seen more aggressive blocking of the internet sites. The Al-Hiwar was initially partially blocked, and then later on in 2010, it was totally blocked. The authorities started to be creative in finding means to block the sites so that people think it is really not working. There is a problem with the server, not blocked. We've seen also in 2010 many attempts of hacking emails using sophisticated spywares. We've seen the authorities stopping conferences and forums discussing different subjects such as social security and meetings, and stopped a meeting with the members of the Federal National Council, which is the parliament supposedly. We've also noticed the starting of discrediting the human rights organization and attacking their reports in 2010 timeframe mainly. We also started to see a coordinated effort by the heads of some of the newspapers and relevant associations, talking about the journalists and also the Writers Association, to attack human rights activists. The effort was apparently directed by the Media Council, of course, without allowing the party's opinion. We've seen more articles that were not allowed to be published, and also a disciplinary action taken against an employee by the Ministry of Justice because of his writing. The person is now sentenced for 15 years imprisonment as part of the UK 94 case, and he was the head of the former head of the Jurists Association. Articles that we noticed, also articles that were possible to be published in the 1980 were not possible anymore in 2010 and beyond. We've noticed also during that time that people, started to move and to be more active on Facebook and later on Twitter. Even there, some pages were blocked on Facebook. Other social media sites and blogs and political sites remained blocked also in 2010. Now talking about 2011 and beyond, where you will see how bad the situation regressed. The 2011 post, the 3rd of March petition that Mr. Ahmed talked about, we were arrested as part of a case that was widely known as the UAE 5. So the arrest of the UAE 5, officially based on their writings in the UAE Hiwar online discussion forum. However, we believe that the arrest was politically motivated due to many other reasons as well. Arrest was accompanied by a smear campaign in the internet, in the BlackBerry Messenger, in the social media, in the printed press, in the radio, and in the TV. That was unprecedented in the history of the United Arab Emirates. The media changed from applauding the government, which was really the case all the time, to campaigning against activists and certain groups beside spreading, groups and spreading environment of fear. It was and still totally led by the directives of the state security apparatus. No freedom other than the freedom to campaign and character assassinate those individuals who are having their own views that they may not match the government's view, and or certain group of people with certain intellectual peaceful beliefs. They were allowing people to either attack these individuals or to show their loyalty and pay allegiance to the governments. And this happened in all types of official and semi-official media. Twitter at that time became the only free media outlet for many of the activists. Very much until the third quarter of year 2012, which then started even to be widely watched and widely controlled by the authorities. We've seen, and this is the, where things became very difficult for activists in the social media. We've seen strong security personnel presence in the social media, especially Twitter. Strong coordination between different campaigning groups under the patronage and the protection of the state security apparatus. Formation of the state security apparatus social media committee and groups. Main goal is really to campaign against activists, attack them, character assassinate them, create environment of fear, use any method to stop people from writing or saying anything against the government. Even using vulgar terms, posting Photoshop pictures, sending death threats, even coordinated physical assaults on some of the individuals, and there was one of those individuals, myself. They were and are truly representing the actual stand of the SSA and the authority in Abu Dhabi. Those campaigners start to find their way to the printed press, to the TV, to the radio station, and the forums. It is believed that some of these articles, if not all, were written by the state security body. They were even given access to make a presentation to the religious clerics, to the students inside and outside the country, and many were hired in high governmental posts and were rewarded financially very well. Okay. Continuing that as well, the UAE authorities issued the modified cybercrime law in 2012, which is really in effect right now, and my colleagues gave many examples of its clauses and its victims. Which really crashed the only free media at that time, which was Twitter and Facebook. So we've seen people moved toward using pseudonyms instead of using their real name. As heavy sentences that could reach even execution, in fact, in the cybercrime law. Life sentences and unprecedented heavy fines. They also issued a modified version of the counterterrorism law, which has strengthened the sentences, the jail sentences, as well as the fines. And they made it much more open-ended in terms of the types of crimes or acts that they could be considered as a terrorist act. So any legitimate activity could be treated as terrorist act, in fact, including this representation, if I may say, and communicating with the human rights organizations, which is, very outrageous, the least to say. Many of the peaceful NGOs and human rights organizations are put in terrorist list along with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And I believe, probably some of you might know that even our friends in Al-Karama were put in that list. Issuing anti-discrimination law in 2015. That was really to add additional layer to their existing repression. This law was really to serve a wanted propaganda, while it has many repressive clauses inside it. Crimes, as per the above laws, are considered state security related crimes, which involve arbitrary detention. This is the trend that it goes through, that almost everybody goes through this. They go through arbitrary detention, enforced disappearance for months, and in some cases year, and beyond the year, torture and ill treatment. We've seen credible testimonies by individuals who were exposed to that kind of torture and ill treatments, and was also confirmed by the United Nations Special Rapporteurs. We've seen also trumped-up charges put against those individuals that go through this, chain of basically the enforced disappearance and so on. And all these charges are politically motivated in trials that leads to extremely harsh sentences and fail to meet the minimum standards of the international fair trial standards. So Twitter became the one and the most dangerous, actually became one of the most dangerous media templates that lead to jailing lots of people. In Facebook and also WhatsApp are also existed, and many were jailed because of that. All led to jail of tens of people that are arrested due to their activities in Twitter. Many were interrogated, other than those that are jailed, threatened of their citizenship withdrawal, and later on some of them were got their citizenship revoked. Some of them were put on travel ban and got their businesses shut down. Their bank accounts were zeros, and in my case that was true as well. And my car also was stolen, and I was assaulted twice, but I wasn't the only one. So we've seen an intensive media work, including TV shows, documentaries, and now they are coming up with series, maybe soap opera on episodes that are related to the activist. And the first one that they will start with this coming Ramadan is going to be about the trial of the UAE 94. So they made a series basically about it. They established many study centers, supposedly think tank, to support the campaigning by issuing tedious books and publication. They conducted lectures and campaigning against activists and certain groups in the universities to the students outside the country, even as part of the compulsory military services. They used the Friday ceremonies as part of these campaigns, and also different religious lectures during the different occasions of the year. They moved from discrediting the work of a human rights organization and soft attacks to harsh attacks, and prevented them from entering the country, and prevented their representatives who managed to get inside the country from attending and observing court hearings. Some of them were even put in the lifetime ban from entering the country, so they would not be able to.
Excuse me, Mr. Ahmed, if you can
Just
be
1
more
minute.
short.
I'll be
Yes.
in less than a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. So at least one of the organization was put in the terrorist list, and many others were campaigned against, and those pro-government individuals requested them to be put in the terrorist list. Many conferences were prevented, many international NGOs were shut down, many writers were prevented from entering the country, and many were expelled from the country and dismissed from their work due to their writings and or books that they published. We've seen also the latest, probably our colleagues already talked about the arrests of Dr. Nasser bin Ghaith and Moza and so on. These are some of the latest victims. So in summary, really we are living in the worst time in the UAE history when it comes to freedom of expression and human rights in general, and specifically freedom of expression. And it is the no freedom state anymore. No wonder why UAE is really regressing in all the international indices. Thank you very much, and sorry for taking that long time, but I thought, I would be as comprehensive and brief as I could, but I usually fail in meeting the time frame.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks a lot, Mr. Ahmed. Keep on live with us, because perhaps there is some journalists who will ask you some questions. So keep on live. Okay.
Sure. Sure.
You are hearing us? You can
yes,
hear
I
us,
can
huh?
hear you.
Very well. Okay. So we thank Mr. Ahmed for this information. He is inside the country, so he has many things to do. So now I give the floor to the public. So if there is some questions from the journalists. Okay. Yes.
Robert James Parsons, independent journalist. I have two questions. First of all, could you describe to us what happens to a person whose citizenship is revoked? Is this person encouraged to emigrate? And if the person remains in the United Arab Emirates, what is this person's status? And presumably, if the person is not a citizen, then this person does not enjoy a great many rights. But is there an effort to push the person out of the country? And then we saw in the past in Bahrain when people's citizenship was revoked when they were outside the country and they were not allowed back in. So they arrived at the airport only to be told that they had to leave because they were not citizens. The second question has to do with the region overall. The Emirates live, so to speak, in the shadow of Saudi Arabia, which is not known for being exemplary in the area of human rights. And Qatar with Al Jazeera used to be quite something of a beacon of hope in the area because it did a great deal of reporting and work that the Arab world, that one did not find elsewhere in the Arab world. And for a while there was also Al Arabiya. And what is the status of these now relative to the Emirates? Do you have access to this information? And also, again, could you talk to us a little about your situation within this region? What sort of interaction is possible with people outside the country, considering that you are under such constraints within the country? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. About the people who lost their citizenship, actually, they were called, and thank you for tell us how the people feel. They don't have anything to identify themselves. They took everything from them. They just call them and tell them, bring your passports or ID, any IDs that you have, and suddenly they find themselves, they can't identify themselves. If you see them and tell them who are you, and they tell you about their names, they can just tell you about their name, and they can't prove it. They can't prove they are the person that they are talking. So this is the basic thing that they face. But the other things, that they can't do anything in the United Arab Emirates, in the country. They can't do anything in the in the school for the students. They can't now go to the schools. Yeah, they don't have any ID, so they face a real problem. They don't, what they own, actually they're not belong to them anymore. They can't sell even their cars. So after that, they call them and tell them, find you another country. And they are citizen, and they are originally from the United Arab Emirates. They said, yeah, they said, we don't have any other country. How can we find any other? They said, okay, you can be arrested anytime. And that's what happened with the 7 people who actually whether their citizenship in the beginning, Ahmed Ghaith and the other people. So the second question maybe.
Well, regarding the revocation of citizenship, I think I might leave that a little more to our guests from the Emirates, who surely have friends and contacts who have suffered from this destiny. I can just say that, yeah, unfortunately, it's a common phenomenon now in the Gulf, the revocation of citizenship that renders the people stateless. Therefore, they have no access to healthcare, to education, to political participation. They can't even register their children. Well, I'm not 100% sure whether they can, but I know that they are encouraged to leave the country. Like some of the Gulf countries try to build cooperations with third world countries or island states like the Comores, where people are encouraged to emigrate to. As for the second question regarding the region as such, yes, Saudi Arabia is kind of a dominant player there, and with the Gulf Cooperation Security Pact that is joined also, of course, by the United Arab Emirates, we see this dominance played out. And in terms of interaction between the human rights defenders or journalists in these countries and, let's say, activists in the West, there's obviously severe difficulties. I mean, people fear reprisals. They will not communicate via phone. They will not even Skype with you because we've seen plenty of cases in which that led to the imprisonment and the unjust prosecution of activists or anyone really voicing an opposing position to that of the government. And as for media outlets such as Al Jazeera or Al Arabiya, well, yes, there is reporting still done, but the question is always how objective is this reporting? Because many media outlets are partially owned by certain actors in the state, close up in the hierarchy. And in some countries we can also see, for example, in Kuwait, media outlets such as Al Watan and Al Yawm were closed down for being slightly critical to government policies.
So, if I may, there's very little filtering in from the surrounding countries and from their media, at least relative to the region. So you might get good international coverage from Al Jazeera, for example, on something happening in Brazil, but if you want to know about the region, you won't find it on Al Jazeera or Al Arabiya, if I understood correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I can confirm that. I mean, these issues are sensitive, and often, instead of reporting in a wrongful way, they decide not to report and focus on other issues instead. And we don't hear all that much from other media outlets in the Gulf, as many of them have already been shut down.
Yes, I will add only two things about the revocation of nationalities. There is now we have a list of over than 10 individuals who actually the authorities revoked their nationalities, their citizenship. But there is some individuals who are afraid to give their names publicly. But we have a list, but we cannot. It is confidential. We have some names what we listed in my speech, but there is other names we cannot publish them because they are afraid. So this is the situation in the United Arab Emirates. That many victims refuse to give their names. They prefer to be anonymous. So second thing for the Al Jazeera, we have information about this media that there is pressure on some journalists to not give information or reports about what happens in the region, especially United Arab Emirates, for example, Saudi Arabia. But sometimes they publish some information, but it is little things. There is pressure on them to not speak about the region. Yes.
Maybe Ahmed wants to add something.
Yeah, I'll just add a quick
Yes.
thing regarding the revocation of the citizenship. Unlike Bahrain, UAE is not really trying to push those individuals outside the country. Rather, is trying to have them suffer inside the country, because literally they do not exist in any other mean other than the space they occupied personally. They are totally of no existence in front of any entity inside the UAE, and they cannot even travel. Even if they get if they are giving the Comoros island passport, which in some cases happens only to the stateless, citizens, I call them. This is an economic citizenship, which means that individuals cannot go and live in the Comoros Islands. So it is really, if there is any existential threat to any individual, it's really the revocation of his or her citizenship. They really do not exist anymore, except as a physical entity that occupies space in the air. On the other side, regarding the dominance of Saudi Arabia, yes, there is clearly a dominance in Saudi Arabia. This because we are living in a non-democratic environment in the region, and the policies of each country could change from one extreme to the other based on the person in power. So we've seen changes even between the previous Saudi regime and the current Saudi regime and relationship with the United Arab Emirates. However, overall, what I could notice is that UAE is really, leaning on Saudi Arabia in many of the cases under which UAE requires Saudi support for it to implement its views. And in many other cases, UAE is trying to use other alternative arms to go around the Saudis' views and stances. So it's really going into different directions. You would not see a unified view between UAE and Saudi Arabia in all the complex issues in the region, talking about Yemen, Libya, Syria, Egypt, Muslim Brotherhoods, and so on. You would not see a totally unified views. UAE has its own views, Saudi Arabia has its own view. UAE is trying to detach itself from Saudi Arabia in many of those items, but cannot really abandon Saudi Arabia completely, because it needs it when it comes to the support of Egypt fight against the Iranian expansion and so on. So this is the general view that I have about these two matters that have been raised.
Okay, thank you.
I have two small questions. So one is, how do you see what is going on in Turkey from a UAE perspective about freedom of press? And is Turkey following the path of the Gulf countries?
Asking me? Yeah, I think I've been following up really, and I think despite the fact that there, repression in Turkey when it comes to freedom of expression, and we've seen lately more aggressive reaction to, a legitimate criticism according to the international law. We still believe that that is nowhere close to what is happening in the region. If you consider, if you try to match that in terms of volume and types, what is happening in the region really outweigh what is happening in Turkey. Yet this is a very alarming step taken by Turkey, because this is how regimes really slide into a full act of dictatorship, when they basically fight the freedom of expression, freedom of people to give their opinion and to express themselves by any means.
Mr. Mansour, I have a question for you. Could you tell us about the impact of your prize, the last one Martin Ennals gave you last year? Of your prize?
Okay, talking about the Martin Ennals Award for me?
Yeah, the
Okay,
impact
well, I
on the
think,
ground.
this is a prestigious award that really put more lights on me as a person and activists from the region in general. And it certainly adds a layer of protection for me that I really much need here in the United Arab Emirates. But definitely, it did not manage so far, at least, to convince the authorities that I'm a peaceful person, that I should be allowed to be given my freedom of movement and ability to conduct my human rights activity. But certainly it puts more lights on my activities and the struggle that everybody in the region goes through when he or she is involved in human rights activities. It certainly gave us a bigger reach to the international community and the international media. And we are trying to utilize that to the best interest of the human rights in the region.
Yes, please.
What's the way forward now?
May I say something to this? That's a difficult question, and we might need another conference to answer that. But I think in general, it's fair to say that media pressure, or international, making the international sphere aware of what's happening in the United Arab Emirates in terms of human rights violations, will exert pressure on the authorities. And I think that's underlined by what Ahmed Mansoor just said about, the kind of attention the award has brought to him, and has kind of, in a way, saved him, or given an extra layer of protection and security.
Perhaps I will say that not to be under the pressure of the UAE authorities to speak about what happened in the United Arab Emirates and all these violations of human rights and also of freedoms of expression. I think we should not to be afraid about to speak about what happens there, because the victims are need us, I think.
Actually, we have a dream, and we are following our dream. We have a dream, and we are following our dream. We are peaceful people who are looking for their rights. And we are using all our means that we have in our hands peacefully, and we will keep do now what we do and tell the people around, our friends, what is happening in the United Arab Emirates. This is support us in the future for to reach our achievement, to have the democracy life and to have the freedom of speech and of the life.
Okay. So I think thank you very much for these statements, for these precisions, and also for the questions. So I wish you all the best for the future. And I think now it's time to close this press meeting. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.